Ethan Cole stepped off the transport shuttle and onto the wide metal platform of Outpost Horizon. The air was thin, but the base's filtration systems made it easy to breathe. He took a deep breath, trying to calm his nerves. This was his first time at a forward human-alien outpost. The stories he had heard made it sound dangerous, exciting, and tense all at once. He was here for a new assignment, and he didn't know what to expect. The base stretched for miles, with long corridors and high towers that seemed to touch the sky. Lights blinked in soft patterns across the walls, and machines hummed in steady rhythm. Some were clearly human technology, sharp and practical. Others were strange, curved, and glowing in ways that seemed alive. Ethan could not tell what species had made them. It made him wonder what kind of people, or aliens, worked here. A uniformed officer, a woman with short brown hair and green eyes, approached him. "Welcome to Outpost Horizon, Ensign Cole," she said with a professional tone. Her name tag read, Clara West. She handed him a datapad. "This is your assignment. You are scheduled for a reconnaissance mission soon. But first you will be assigned a companion for the mission. It is part of our cross-species cooperation program." Ethan blinked. Companion? He had not expected that. He had trained alone most of his career. He had worked with teams of humans, of course, but an alien? That was something different. Something unknown. Clara smiled faintly, as if reading his thoughts. "Follow me," she said. They walked along a wide corridor, the floor humming softly beneath their boots. Ethan noticed the walls were lined with screens, showing maps of nearby sectors, planets, and strange energy readings. There were small pods along the side, some glowing, some open, with creatures inside he could not identify. "You will meet your partner here," Clara said, stopping in front of a room. The door opened silently. "This is Lyra. She will accompany you." Ethan stepped in cautiously. He froze when he saw her. The alien girl stood perfectly still in the middle of the room. Her skin had a faint silver shimmer that seemed to move under the light. Her hair fell in long, pale strands that glowed slightly at the ends. Her eyes were large and silver, reflecting everything around her. She was beautiful, but not like a human. There was something distant and calm about her, almost like she existed in her own world. "Hello," Ethan said slowly, unsure of what to do. Lyra looked at him. She did not smile, but her eyes moved over him carefully, as if she could see more than he thought. Then she spoke in a soft voice that seemed to echo slightly in his mind. "Greetings, human." Ethan swallowed. I'm Ethan. I guess we'll be working together on the mission." "Yes," she said simply. "Efficiency is required." Ethan tried to smile, but it felt awkward. There was no warmth in her tone. She sounded calm, almost cold. He wondered if she had a sense of humor, or if she even cared about people. Clara cleared her throat. "You will have time to get to know each other. Training begins tomorrow." She paused. "Remember, the mission is dangerous. Cooperation is essential. That is why you two are paired." With that, she left, closing the door behind her. For a moment, there was silence. Ethan felt the weight of the moment. He had faced dangerous missions before, but never like this. Never with an alien companion. He shifted his weight and looked at her. "So, Lyra, right? What do you like to do for fun?" he asked, trying to break the tension. Lyra tilted her head slightly. "Fun is irrelevant." Ethan laughed nervously. "Right. I guess danger is fun enough for you then?" "Risk is inefficient. Fun is unnecessary." Ethan raised his hands. Okay, I get it. You are serious. I can respect that." Lyra said nothing, but her gaze softened just slightly. Ethan thought he saw curiosity there, like she was trying to understand him. He sat on one of the benches in the room. "I don't suppose you've ever worked with humans before?" he asked. "Once," she said. "It was unsatisfactory." Ethan chuckled. "I can see why. We humans can be reckless." Reckless is an understatement. They were quiet for a few minutes. Ethan studied her carefully. There was something about her calmness that was both impressive and unsettling. She seemed confident, but not in a way that showed off. More like confidence that came from knowing herself completely. "So," he said, leaning back, "we'll be heading out soon. I don't know much about the mission yet, but I guess we'll have to work together." "Agreed," she said simply. The next morning, Ethan woke early. He was nervous but also excited. He met Lyra in the training area, which was a large dome filled with simulation devices and holographic maps. Other soldiers trained around them, humans and aliens moving together in a strange harmony. Lyra was already there, standing near a holographic table. She raised an eyebrow at him. "You are late," Ethan grinned. "Barely, and I walked fast. Human speed." She tilted her head again. "Human recklessness." Ethan laughed. She did not, but there was no anger in her voice. Only observation. Their training began with simple exercises, piloting, target practice, and survival drills. Lyra was skilled in everything, moving with precision and control. Ethan tried to keep up, but he was impressed. She did not rush, but she never hesitated. Her movements were perfect, like she had already mastered all the skills they were learning. During one exercise, Ethan made a quick decision that allowed them to complete the drill faster, but it caused a minor system failure in the simulation. Lyra's eyes narrowed. "You acted without consideration. That could have caused injury." Ethan shrugged. "It worked. We finished faster." "Efficiency is not measured by speed alone," she said. Ethan sighed. "I get it, sometimes humans act on instinct. It works more often than you'd think." Lyra looked at him for a long moment. "Instinct is dangerous." Ethan laughed. "And sometimes it saves lives." They trained like this for hours, learning to work together despite their differences. Ethan began to notice things about Lyra that he had not expected. She was not unkind. She was protective, careful, and observant. She noticed details he missed, and she made decisions that often saved time or effort. By evening, both of them were tired. They walked back to the quarters in silence, the hum of the bass around them. Ethan tried one last question. "Do you ever get scared?" Lyra paused. "Fear is not useful, but caution is." Ethan smiled. "That's fair. I guess that's why you're so good at this." She said nothing but looked at him, and for the first time, Ethan felt like she was studying him not just as a human, but as a person. He realized then that this mission would not just test their skills. It would test their ability to understand each other, to work together across species, to trust one another. And for Ethan, that was both exciting and terrifying. That night, Ethan lay in his bunk thinking about Lyra. Her silver eyes, her calm voice, the way she moved. She was alien, yes, but there was a strength there he could not ignore. He felt curious. He wanted to learn more about her. He wanted to understand her. For her part, Lyra rested in her quarters, her mind running through the day. The human Ethan was unpredictable, loud, emotional, and yet he survived. More than that, she felt something unusual around him. A warmth, a strength in his emotions that she had not felt before. Humans were messy, but they were alive. And perhaps, just perhaps, he might be interesting. As the lights of Outpost Horizon dimmed for the night, both Ethan and Lyra prepared for the mission ahead. They did not yet know the dangers waiting for them, but they both understood one thing clearly. They would have to face it together. "Very reckless," Ethan laughed, ducking under a swinging barrier. "Reckless is my middle name." Lyra's eyes narrowed. "Reckless is a liability." "Yeah, but sometimes it works," Ethan said, grabbing a data node before a rolling barrier could hit him. She shook her head, almost imperceptibly. "Luck is not strategy." Despite their differences, they managed to complete the drill successfully. Ethan was impressed by Lyra's skill. She moved with an elegance he could not match, reacting faster than he thought possible. He realized that working with her meant he had to pay attention, think ahead, and act differently than he normally would. After the drill, they took a short break. Ethan wiped sweat from his forehead and glanced at her. "You've done this before, haven't you?" he asked. "Many times," she said. "Humans sometimes need guidance." Ethan laughed. "Guidance, huh? You're going to have a lot of fun with me then." She tilted her head slightly. "Fun is irrelevant." Ethan shook his head and smiled. He was not sure how he would ever get used to her serious nature, but he found himself curious about it. He wanted to know why she acted the way she did, why she seemed so calm in every situation. The next exercise was more challenging. They were sent to the simulation area, where they faced a virtual storm on a small alien planet. Energy blasts struck randomly, and the terrain shifted beneath their feet. The goal was to reach a communication relay and repair it. Ethan moved forward instinctively, taking quick steps over unstable ground. Lyra followed, her movements precise, her eyes scanning the simulation for hazards. Suddenly, a section of the floor collapsed under Ethan's weight and he fell. Lyra reacted immediately. She extended her hands and a soft silver energy shield enveloped him, holding him steady until he could regain his footing. "Are you injured?" she asked, her voice calm but sharp. "Not really," Ethan said, brushing off dust. "Thanks for the save. Recklessness nearly caused injury," she said. "That is not acceptable." Ethan chuckled, but inside he felt a new respect for her. She had reacted instantly, without hesitation, and had saved him from a potentially serious accident. He realized that her precision and calmness were not just traits. They were survival skills. As the simulation continued, Ethan tried to match her style. He slowed down, watched more carefully, and coordinated his movements with hers. Slowly, he began to notice patterns in her behavior. Small gestures, subtle shifts in her stance, the way she anticipated danger. It was like learning a language he had never heard before. By the end of the simulation, they had completed the mission successfully. Ethan was breathing hard, but Lyra looked as calm as ever. She glanced at him briefly. "Improvement noted," she said. Ethan grinned. "Thanks. That feels good to hear." After training, they were assigned to a briefing room. Commander Harris, a tall man with graying hair, waited for them. The room was filled with holographic maps and displays. "You two will be sent on a reconnaissance mission tomorrow," Commander Harris said. "The target is Nerath 9, an uncharted planet in the outer sector. Communications have gone dark and we need intel. You will scout the surface, investigate the cause, and report back. Do not engage unless necessary." Ethan glanced at Lyra. She nodded slightly, her silver eyes fixed on the commander. "The planet is unstable," Harris continued. "Energy storms are frequent. Ground terrain is unpredictable. Both of you will need to work together. Failure is not an option." Ethan felt a surge of excitement. This was why he had joined the mission team. Dangerous, unknown, and thrilling. He also felt a twinge of worry. He had never worked with an alien partner in the field. After the briefing, they walked back to the quarters. Ethan decided to ask a question he had been thinking about all day. "Lyra, why did you shield me back there? You could have left me to fall." She looked at him, her expression unreadable. "Leaving you to fall would have been inefficient. Cooperation is required for mission success." Ethan laughed softly. "You make it sound so simple, but thank you. I mean it. Human emotion is unpredictable," she said. "I acted on calculation, not feeling." Ethan nodded. He could feel that there was more to her words, but he didn't push. He had learned over the past day that Lyra revealed things in her own time, in her own way. The next day, they began pre-mission preparations. Ethan checked the shuttle, its instruments, and communications. Lyra studied the planetary data, analyzing storm patterns and terrain instability. They worked side by side, occasionally exchanging comments, learning to anticipate each other's movements. During the final systems check, Ethan noticed something unusual on one of the displays, a flicker of energy coming from the planet's surface. "Lyra, look at this," he said, pointing at the monitor. She leaned closer, her silver eyes scanning the data. "An anomaly," she said. "Possibly natural, possibly artificial. Caution is advised." Ethan nodded. "Yeah, I figured it wouldn't be that simple." Lyra looked at him for a moment. "You will need to control your impulsiveness. The planet is not forgiving." "I know," Ethan said. "I'll try." She didn't respond, but he felt a subtle acknowledgement, as if she respected his willingness to adapt. As the sun set over the base, casting long shadows across the metal floors, Ethan and Lyra prepared for the mission. Their partnership was still new, still uneasy, but it had begun to form. They had discovered each other's strengths and weaknesses, learned to communicate without words at times, and found a strange rhythm in their cooperation. Ethan lay in his bunk that night, thinking about Lyra. She was different, alien, and yet not so different after all. He realized that survival in the unknown required more than skill. It required trust, understanding, and a willingness to adapt. And he was beginning to see that Lyra could teach him those things. Lyra, in her own quarters, studied the mission data again. She observed the human's tendencies, noting his impulsive actions and emotional reactions. He was unpredictable yet resourceful. She calculated that his abilities could complement hers if guided correctly. And perhaps she considered the possibility of learning from him. As night fell over Outpost Horizon, the two of them rested. Tomorrow they would face Nerath 9, a planet full of danger, mystery, and uncertainty. But they were no longer just two individuals. They were beginning to function as a team. And in the silence of the outpost, the first bonds of partnership were quietly forming. The next morning, Ethan, Cole, and Lyra boarded the scout ship Horizon's wing. The hangar doors opened slowly, revealing the dark expanse of space beyond the base. Stars stretched into infinity, and the faint glow of distant planets lit the edges of the void. Ethan felt a thrill run through him. This was what he had trained for: the unknown, the dangerous, and the exciting. Lyra was already at the control panel, her silver eyes scanning the ship's instruments. She did not look at him, but Ethan felt as if she was aware of his excitement. She moved with precision, checking every system, every readout. He watched her silently, impressed by how she worked. "Ready for departure," Lyra said. "Ready as I'll ever be," Ethan replied. The engines hummed to life. The ship lifted off the platform and into orbit smoothly. Ethan sat in the co-pilot seat, gripping the controls lightly. The base grew smaller beneath them, a cluster of lights surrounded by dark void. Outpost Horizon was disappearing behind them, leaving only the unknown ahead. Their target was Nerath 9, a planet in the outer sector that had suddenly gone silent. Communications were lost, and all automated probes had failed to send back data. The mission was simple in instruction but filled with danger. Investigate the cause, collect data, and return safely. As they approached the planet, Ethan noticed its unusual appearance. Nerath 9 was covered in strange metallic forests, tall spires of reflective material stretching into the sky. Pulses of energy flashed intermittently across the surface, like lightning, but slower, almost deliberate. "That's unusual," Ethan said. "Never seen a planet like this." Lyra's eyes narrowed as she scanned the data. "The energy patterns are unstable. Caution is advised. The surface may be hazardous." Ethan nodded. "Yeah, I figured as much." They descended slowly through the thin atmosphere. The shuttle shook slightly as they passed through turbulent energy fields. Ethan focused on keeping the ship steady while Lyra monitored the readings. They were silent, each concentrating on their role. "Landing coordinates locked," Lyra said. "Prepare for surface entry." The ship touched down on a metallic plane, the landing gear sinking slightly into the strange surface. Ethan exhaled, feeling the tension release from his shoulders. They had arrived safely, but he knew the real challenge had just begun. "Let's move," Lyra said, stepping out of the shuttle. Ethan followed, his boots crunching against the sharp metallic terrain. The air was thin but breathable, and the sky above shimmered with colors he could not name. They walked toward a ridge that offered a better view of the surrounding area. Ethan scanned the terrain carefully. The metallic forest stretched endlessly, with glowing spires scattered throughout. Strange pulses of energy ran along the ground like veins, occasionally bursting into small arcs of light. "This place is alive," Ethan muttered. "In a sense," Lyra said. "It reacts to energy. Movement and emotion can trigger responses." Ethan raised an eyebrow. "Emotion? What do you mean?" Lyra's eyes met his. "This planet, it is sensitive to the mind. Be aware of your thoughts and impulses. They may influence the environment." Ethan nodded, feeling a chill run through him. He had trained for danger, but never for something like this. A planet that could sense him, respond to him. He felt a strange awareness, as if the metallic trees were watching. They moved cautiously, following a faint signal from one of the failed probes. As they approached, Ethan noticed wreckage scattered across the ground. Twisted metal, broken instruments, and scorched patches suggested a violent incident. Something attacked the probe, Ethan said. Yes, Lyra replied, and it may still be here. They moved forward carefully, scanning for signs of movement. The ground trembled slightly beneath their boots. Ethan glanced at Lyra. She was calm, her hand hovering near her energy blade. He felt a surge of reassurance. She was always prepared, always aware. Suddenly, a pulse of energy shot from the ground, knocking Ethan off balance. He rolled to his feet, shaking his head. Lyra extended her hands, creating a protective shield that absorbed the energy. "Stay close," she said. "It will react to us." Ethan nodded. "Right behind you." They continued, moving toward an underground structure partially buried in the metallic forest. The entrance was jagged and dark, with faint energy pulses flickering inside. "This must be the source of the anomaly," Lyra said. "Proceed with caution." Ethan stepped inside, his flashlight cutting through the darkness. Lyra followed silently, her energy blade glowing softly. The walls were smooth, metallic, and covered with strange markings. He had never seen anything like it. In the center of the room, they found a large containment chamber. Inside, a faintly glowing form stirred, an energy being, pulsing with light. It was unlike any life form Ethan had encountered. Its shape shifted constantly, and he felt a subtle hum in his chest, like it was reaching out to sense him. "That must be it," Ethan whispered. "That's what caused the probe to fail." Lyra stepped forward cautiously. "It is aware of us. We must remain calm." As they approached, the being pulsed stronger, sending a wave of mental pressure through the chamber. Lyra staggered slightly, and Ethan felt a sharp ache in his head. The entity was not attacking physically, but mentally. It sensed their emotions, their thoughts, and it reacted. "Ethan, step back," Lyra said, her voice strained. I can't just leave it," Ethan said. "We need to know what it is." Lyra shook her head. "It is dangerous. We cannot engage directly." Suddenly, the entity pulsed again, stronger this time. Lyra fell to her knees, overwhelmed by the mental pressure. Ethan rushed to her side, holding her up. He felt the wave hit him, but he resisted. "Stay with me," he shouted. Lyra's eyes met his, filled with something he had never seen before: fear, vulnerability, and trust. "You can help," she gasped. "Your emotions, they are strong. If you focus, you can stabilize me." Ethan hesitated. He had no idea how, but he understood that she needed him. He took a deep breath, letting his thoughts settle, trying to project calm. He reached out mentally, matching her focus, and felt a connection spark between them. Together they projected a pulse of energy toward the entity. The chamber shook, light flashing in chaotic bursts. Ethan felt Lyra's mind beside his, guiding him, sharing strength. Slowly, the entity's pulses weakened, and it settled back into the containment chamber, dormant once again. Ethan and Lyra collapsed, breathing heavily. The room was silent except for the soft hum of the entity. "You did well," Lyra said quietly. Her hand touched his arm briefly, a small gesture that sent a strange warmth through him. "You saved me," Ethan said. "We saved each other." Lyra nodded, her silver eyes softer than before. "Humans have a different strength. I understand now." Ethan smiled, feeling a bond form between them. It was more than partnership, it was trust, and perhaps the beginning of understanding. They collected the data from the chamber and prepared to return to the shuttle. The journey back to Outpost Horizon was quiet but comfortable. Ethan and Lyra sat side by side, each lost in thought, both aware of the events that had just changed their relationship. When they landed, Commander Harris met them at the hangar. "Report," he said. Ethan glanced at Lyra. She nodded, and he began. "The anomaly is contained. The energy being was responsible for the probe failure. We were able to stabilize it and collect data for further analysis. Good work, Harris said, his tone serious. You both demonstrated strong teamwork. That is exactly what this base needs. Ethan looked at Lyra as they walked away. She gave him a small nod. It was not much, but it felt like acknowledgement. He felt something he had never felt with another teammate: respect, trust, and perhaps a connection. That night, Ethan lay in his bunk, thinking about the mission. Lyra was more than a partner. She was a being he had come to understand in a short time, and he realized that their combined abilities had made the difference. He felt a sense of pride and hope. Together, they could face challenges no human or alien could face alone. Lyra, in her quarters, analyzed the data again. She reflected on the mission and the human beside her. Ethan's emotions, unpredictable as they were, had helped her maintain control. She understood something new, that humans were not weak as some Valari believed. They were strong in ways that could complement her abilities. As Outpost Horizon settled into night, both Ethan and Lyra rested, each aware that the mission had changed something between them. Danger had forced them to work together, to understand each other and to trust each other. And as they slept, a quiet bond formed, one that would grow stronger as they faced even greater challenges ahead. The next morning, Ethan, Cole, and Lyra prepared for the second leg of their mission on Nereth 9. Their first encounter with the energy being had taught them something important. The planet responded to emotion, and they would have to be careful. But the real challenge awaited. The readings indicated the anomaly was not confined to the chamber. Something else, something stronger, was still active below the surface. Ethan checked the shuttle systems while Lyra studied the maps and energy patterns. The metallic forests around them pulsed faintly, almost as if the planet itself was alive and watching. Ethan felt a shiver run down his spine. "Are you ready?" Lyra asked, her silver eyes scanning the area. "As ready as I'll ever be," Ethan said. He tightened his gloves, feeling the familiar rush of anticipation. They boarded the shuttle and descended toward the source of the strongest energy readings. The terrain grew rougher, jagged metallic spires piercing the sky, and the ground shimmered with constant energy pulses. Ethan had to navigate carefully to avoid being caught in the bursts. "Slow down," Lyra warned. "The energy here is volatile." Ethan nodded and eased the throttle. Every movement required precision. Every turn could trigger the pulses. It was as if the planet itself was testing them, pushing them to react together. After a tense descent, they landed near a jagged fissure in the ground. Energy waves emanated from the opening, shimmering in colors Ethan could not name. Lyra stepped out first, her energy blade glowing faintly. Ethan followed, his pulse quickening. "This is it," Lyra said. "The source of the strongest readings. We must approach carefully." They moved forward, every step calculated. The fissure widened into a cavern, the walls pulsing with energy. At the center floated the entity, larger, more powerful than before. Its form shifted constantly, glowing with light, reacting to their presence. Ethan felt a pressure in his mind, a weight that made it hard to think clearly. Lyra faltered slightly. Ethan reached out instinctively. "Lyra, are you okay?" It's stronger than before," she said. Her voice trembled for the first time. "It is sensing fear. We must resist together." Ethan nodded. "Then we fight it together." They moved closer, and the entity pulsed again, sending waves of psychic energy through the cavern. Lyra stumbled and nearly fell. Ethan grabbed her arm, steadying her. She looked at him, and for a moment, the usual calm in her eyes was replaced by vulnerability. "You have to let me connect to your mind," she said urgently. "Your emotions. They are strong. Together we can stabilize it." Ethan hesitated. Connecting minds with an alien was risky, but he could see no other way. He nodded. "Okay, do it." Lyra reached out with her thoughts, and Ethan felt a strange warmth as their minds linked. He could sense her fears, her strength, and the careful calculations she made with every movement. At the same time, she felt his courage, his instinct to protect, and his determination not to fail. Together, they projected a wave of combined energy toward the entity. It recoiled, pulsing violently, but the strength of their connection held it in check. Ethan felt Lyra's power flowing through him, guiding him, and he focused all his energy on maintaining the link. The entity's form twisted and shifted, trying to escape their influence. Energy surged through the cavern, and Ethan felt a sharp ache in his head. Lyra groaned but held on. "Don't falter, focus!" Ethan gritted his teeth. "I won't." He projected more emotion, more determination, letting Lyra's guidance direct the flow. Slowly, the entity began to calm, its pulses weakening as their combined energy stabilized it. They continued like this for what felt like hours. Every moment was a battle of wills, a test of control, and a struggle against the overwhelming force of the entity. But neither of them gave up. Their trust in each other grew stronger with every pulse, every wave of energy they directed. Finally, the entity's light dimmed, and it floated motionless in the center of the cavern. The psychic pressure lifted, leaving the cavern quiet except for the soft hum of residual energy. Ethan collapsed onto one knee, breathing heavily. Lyra did the same, her body trembling but her mind clear. They had done it together. "You were incredible," Lyra said, her voice soft, almost a whisper. For the first time she looked genuinely moved. "I could not have done this alone," Ethan smiled, wiping sweat from his brow. "Neither could I. We make a good team, huh?" Lyra looked at him, her silver eyes reflecting the fading glow of the entity. "Yes, teamwork is essential. And trust." Ethan felt a warmth spread through him at her words. He realized that the experience had changed something between them. They were no longer just human and alien. They were partners, connected by shared struggle and mutual respect. After a brief rest, they began collecting data from the entity and the surrounding cavern. Lyra instructed Ethan on how to handle the samples safely, explaining the alien technology they were encountering. Ethan followed her instructions carefully, impressed by her knowledge and patience. As they worked, Ethan noticed something new. Lyra's usual calm demeanor had softened. She glanced at him occasionally, and he could sense a subtle shift in her awareness, a curiosity, a willingness to learn about him as a person, not just as a partner. "Ethan," she said finally, breaking the silence, "I sensed your emotions today. The courage and the determination. It is remarkable." Ethan felt his chest tighten slightly. "Thanks, Lyra. I sensed your strength too. Without you, we wouldn't have made it." They shared a quiet moment, the kind of silence that spoke volumes. Both understood that their bond had grown deeper. It was no longer just about survival or efficiency. It was about connection, understanding, and trust. They packed the remaining data and prepared to leave the cavern. As they stepped back into the shuttle, Ethan glanced at the metallic forest outside. The planet was still alive, pulsing faintly with energy, but it no longer felt threatening. They had faced its guardian together and survived. The flight back to Outpost Horizon was quiet. Both were lost in thought, processing what had happened. Ethan felt a sense of pride and relief. Lyra, for her part, analyzed the mission data, noting not only the entity's behavior but also the human's ability to adapt and respond under pressure. When they landed at the base, Commander Harris was waiting. "Report," he said, his tone serious. Ethan stepped forward. "The entity is contained and stabilized. We collected data and confirmed that the planet's reactions are linked to energy and emotion. The mission was successful," Lyra added. "Collaboration was essential. Both human and Valari abilities contributed to the success." Harris nodded. "Excellent work. This is exactly what we need from cross-species teams. Your cooperation has proven the potential of human-alien partnerships." Ethan felt a surge of pride as they walked away. Lyra matched his pace, her usual distance softened. For the first time, she allowed herself to speak more casually. "Your courage is unusual, human. I did not expect such control under pressure." Ethan smiled. "Thanks, Lyra. You saved my life. We saved each other." She looked at him, her silver eyes reflecting something he could not name. Respect, gratitude, perhaps even friendship. "Yes," she said softly. Together. That night, Ethan lay in his bunk, replaying the events of the day. He felt a strange mix of exhaustion and exhilaration. The mission had been dangerous, but it had also taught him something important. Humans were strong, not just in body or skill, but in emotion, courage, and the ability to trust. And sometimes that strength could change the outcome of even the most impossible situations. In her quarters, Lyra reflected as well. The human beside her had shown qualities she had not expected: bravery, instinct, and a willingness to connect. She realized that humans, for all their unpredictability, possessed a kind of strength that complemented her own abilities, and perhaps she considered there was more to learn from them, not just about survival, but about life itself. As the lights of Outpost Horizon dimmed for the night, both Ethan and Lyra rested, knowing that the bond they had formed was no longer fragile. It had been tested under extreme conditions, and it had proven strong. Tomorrow they would continue their mission, but tonight they allowed themselves a quiet moment of connection. A moment of understanding that transcended species, training, and duty, and in the silence of the base, both felt it, a trust that had been earned, a partnership that had been forged in danger, and a quiet certainty that together they could face anything the universe threw at them. The return flight to Outpost Horizon was quiet. Ethan Cole sat in the co-pilot seat staring out at the stars. The events on Narath 9 still replayed in his mind. The energy being, the mental link with Lyra, and the overwhelming sense of danger had left him exhausted, but strangely exhilarated. He felt alive in a way he had never experienced before. Lyra sat beside him, her posture straight, her silver eyes fixed on the control panel. She did not speak much, but Ethan could sense her thoughts, just as she had sensed his on the planet. The bond they had formed was subtle, a connection neither fully understood yet, but it was real. "You were remarkable today," Lyra said finally, breaking the silence. Her voice was soft, almost hesitant. Ethan smiled. "So were you. I couldn't have done it without you." She looked at him, and for the first time a small, almost imperceptible smile touched her lips. "Humans have strength I did not expect. Not only physical, but emotional." Ethan chuckled lightly. "I guess that's what makes us survive in tough situations." "Perhaps," Lyra said. She paused as if weighing her words carefully. "I respect your courage. And your instincts. They complemented my abilities." Ethan felt a warmth spread through his chest. He had trained with many partners, humans and aliens alike. But this acknowledgement from Lyra meant more than he could explain. He realized that this mission had changed both of them. They were no longer just human and alien partners. They were a team, united by shared experience and trust. When the shuttle finally docked at Outpost Horizon, they were met by Commander Harris and several other officers. "Welcome back," Harris said, his tone serious but pleased. "Report on your findings." Ethan and Lyra walked to the briefing room. Lyra spoke first. "The energy being is contained. It reacts to both mental and emotional signals. Our joint approach stabilized it and allowed us to collect data." Ethan added, "The planet's surface is reactive. Movement, energy, and emotion influence its behavior. We managed to complete the mission without triggering further danger thanks to teamwork." Harris nodded, clearly impressed. "Excellent work. You two have proven the effectiveness of human-Volari partnerships. This data will be invaluable for future missions." After the debriefing, Ethan and Lyra returned to their quarters. The base was quiet now, the hum of machinery the only sound. Ethan took a seat and let out a long breath. "You did well," he said quietly. "Today on the planet, you saved my life. We saved each other." Lyra looked at him, her silver eyes softer than usual. "Yes, I understand human emotion more clearly now. It can be powerful," Ethan smiled. "It's powerful when we trust the right people." For a moment they sat in silence. Both were aware of the bond they shared, a bond that had been forged under extreme pressure and danger. Neither had fully experienced it before. It was more than friendship, more than teamwork. It was connection, a recognition of each other's strengths, fears, and trust. The next morning, training resumed at the base. Ethan and Lyra practiced together, but the difference was noticeable. They moved with a rhythm, a quiet understanding that had not been there before. Ethan anticipated Lyra's actions. She adjusted to his instincts. The drills that had once been awkward now flowed smoothly. During a coordination exercise, Ethan decided to take a slightly risky route to test the new understanding between them. Lyra glanced at him, her expression unreadable. "You are acting impulsively," she said. Ethan smiled. "Not impulsive. Calculated risk. We trust each other, remember?" Lyra considered this, then nodded slightly. "Proceed." Together they navigated the obstacle course with ease. Ethan's risk paid off and Lyra adapted instantly. For the first time, their abilities complemented each other perfectly. It was as if they had learned each other's rhythm, instinct, emotion, and calculation in harmony. Later, they were assigned a briefing with Commander Harris to discuss future missions. Harris looked at them, a small smile on his face. "I have decided that you two will continue as partners for the next series of reconnaissance missions. Your performance has been exemplary. You complement each other in ways that will make future missions safer and more effective." Ethan felt a surge of pride. Lyra, meanwhile, gave a subtle nod. The recognition was enough. No words were needed to express their shared understanding. That evening, Ethan and Lyra sat on the observation deck, looking out at the stars. The metallic forests of Nerath 9 were distant now, but the memory of the planet, the energy being, and their shared experience lingered. "You know," Ethan said softly, "I never thought I'd be paired with an alien, and I definitely didn't think I'd be working with someone like you." Lyra's silver eyes reflected the starlight. "I did not expect to find compatibility with a human, yet your presence, your instincts, they are reassuring." Ethan chuckled. "Reassuring, huh? That's not something humans usually hear from aliens." Lyra's lips curved into a faint smile. "Perhaps humans are underestimated." Ethan felt a small laugh escape him. "I guess we are, but only when we work together with someone who understands us." They sat in silence, watching the stars, feeling the quiet bond between them. It was a bond that had been tested by danger, strengthened by trust, and solidified by shared experience. Ethan realized that this partnership was not just about survival or missions. It was about understanding, respect, and connection across species. Over the following weeks, their missions continued. They explored uncharted planets, investigated anomalies, and faced challenges that tested both skill and teamwork. With each mission, their understanding of each other grew. Lyra began to observe more closely, learning to anticipate human behavior. Ethan learned patience and precision from her. Together, they became a team that was stronger than the sum of its parts. One evening, after returning from a particularly difficult mission, Ethan and Lyra walked through the base corridors. The lights were dim, the hum of machinery gentle. They paused near the observation deck, looking out at the stars. "You have changed," Ethan said quietly. "Not just in how you work, but how you see humans." Lyra considered this. "And you have changed as well. Your instincts, your courage. It is remarkable," Ethan smiled. "I guess we make a good team." "Yes," Lyra said, her voice soft. "A strong team." There was a pause, comfortable and quiet. For the first time, neither felt the need to speak. They had shared experiences, danger, and triumphs. They understood each other in ways that words could not fully express. That night, as they rested in their quarters, both reflected on the journey they had taken together. The mission to Nerath 9 had been dangerous, unpredictable, and life-changing. It had tested their skills, their courage, and their ability to trust. But it had also created a connection that neither had anticipated. Ethan thought about the alien girl who had been assigned as his partner. Lyra was calm, precise, and seemingly distant, yet she had shown vulnerability and trust when it mattered most. He felt a quiet admiration for her abilities and a deep respect for her intelligence and strength. Lyra, in turn, thought about the human beside her. Ethan was unpredictable, emotional, and impulsive, yet he had courage, determination, and a willingness to connect that she had not expected. He had helped her understand the value of human emotion and instinct, and she found herself curious about him, about humans, and about the possibilities of their partnership. In the days that followed, their bond continued to grow. The base staff began to notice their teamwork, how Ethan and Lyra anticipated each other's actions, how they communicated without words, and how they complemented each other in every mission. Other humans and aliens began to respect their partnership, seeing it as an example of what cooperation could achieve. One evening, Ethan and Lyra stood on the observation deck once more. The stars stretched endlessly before them, each one a reminder of the vast universe they were exploring. "You know," Ethan said, "I never thought I'd find a partner like you, someone I could trust and rely on." Lyra's silver eyes met his. "Nor did I, yet. Here we are," Ethan smiled. "Here we are." For a long moment they stood in silence, watching the stars, feeling the quiet certainty that they could face any challenge together. The dangers of the universe were vast, unpredictable, and often deadly. But with trust, teamwork, and understanding, they knew they could overcome anything. And in that silence, both felt it. A connection that went beyond species, beyond training, and beyond duty. A bond forged in danger, strengthened by trust and solidified by shared experience. Ethan turned slightly to Lyra. "Ready for the next mission?" Lyra nodded, a small smile on her lips. Yes. Together. Together they would continue to explore the unknown, face the dangers of the universe, and discover the strength that came not only from skill or training, but from trust, understanding, and the bond between human and alien. As the base lights dimmed for the night, the stars shone brightly above Outpost Horizon. Ethan and Lyra, side by side, looked toward the future, a future filled with challenges, discoveries, and the promise of partnership that could face anything. And in that moment, both knew one simple truth. Together they were stronger than the universe itself.